I got made redundant in the summer, which actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise because it meant I could spend more time with my little boy. I just kind of learned that, you know what, stop kind of being down on yourself. I'm not, as you know, I'm quite an upbeat, positive person, but I had to kind of slap myself out of it a couple of times because I found it tough, and I'm not that type of person. So for me to find it tough, other people just, you know.
Hello, I'm Nicole and welcome to The Big Chat. And today I'm talking to someone very special to me. Her name's Gemma and she runs Your VPA. And I was very lucky to actually give Gemma a little bit of coaching. So I'm sure you're going to be just as taken with her enthusiasm as I was. Hello, Gemma. Hello.
So nice to meet you in person and honestly, it's so good to be at the house. I mean, let's be honest. It's been a tough year. But
no,
it's
stick with the nice to meet me in person.
Nice to meet you, obviously. But yeah, it's incredible.
We had a few weeks of chatting on Zoom, didn't we?
Yes,
so
we
we actually, Gemma, you joined part of my coaching program that was in lockdown.
Yes, yeah.
And we sort of found each other through LinkedIn. And then that was how we sort of met.
Yeah.
And then we did, that was it. The rest
hit
was
it off,
history, really.
yeah.
We hit it off. We did. You're very enthusiastic and positive.
Yes.
And, you know, it was great. And I really did enjoy, you know, I miss our sessions.
I do, 100%.
I
do.
really enjoyed it, and you know, I just think you're fabulous. So, for those who don't know, VPA, Your VPA is your company name,
Yes.
but tell people what that means.
So Your VPA is a virtual assistant business. So I started late last year, and I've been a personal assistant for over 12 years now. I got made redundant in the summer, which actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise because it meant I could spend more time with my little boy. And I thought, wow, what am I going to do? So the next progressive step with me in the middle of a pandemic was set up your own business. So I know people are thinking, are you crazy? Like, is this the right time? But I love a challenge. And as you said, I'm very passionate about what I do. I love what I do. I didn't want to change that. So I thought, you know what? If other people can do it, surely I can do it. So I set up my own business. And this year, really, from January is when it's kind of gone from strength to strength. So I've met yourself, which has been amazing. You know, I've networked my butt off to try and get my business name out there, get myself out there, get my personality across. And it's just been growing and growing and growing. And so far, so good. Don't get me wrong, it's been tough. It has been tough. But I just love it. I love helping people. That is one thing about me. I genuinely love to help people. So, you know, being able to carry on doing what I'm doing and have the passion and, you know, my skill set and strengths and just help business owners across Kent. That, you know, it's my dream, really.
You've got a very big heart.
Oh, thank you.
We'll get all emotional, you and I.
I said to myself, I am not going to cry. You have a habit of making me cry.
I know. I've already, like, anyone that wants to be coached by me.
Yeah.
I had this with Alison
Tissues
Abel.
at the ready.
It's literally, I just bring on the tears
Yes.
and then I get them myself. But
Yeah.
you have a really big heart and you
thank
love.
you.
So obviously I have a bit of an inside information, but your real passion about being, you know, doing Your VPA came from, you were a PA for a long time. You have a son.
I do indeed,
Who's only, how old?
He's 19 months now.
So he's a real little bubba.
He is, yes.
And so, you know, let's credit where credit's due. When you started to do this a year ago, he wasn't 19 months. He was much younger than that.
Yes.
And we were just about to go into a pandemic. So it was incredibly bold that you did that. But it was also, it came from working for other people and seeing what a great help you could be.
Yes.
But wanting more, was it more flexibility or what was it that made you really want to do it?
I think obviously getting made redundant was the real push.
Yeah.
So I'd looked for jobs in an office environment because that's what I'm used to, but there just wasn't anything part-time around at that time. And I thought, well, how am I going to juggle being a mum and carrying on doing what I love? So I thought, well, actually the virtual assistant side will do both.
Yeah.
So it means that I can tailor my working day around my son and have that flexibility, I guess, to still kind of do what I love, but do it, you know, with the sideline of being a mummy as well. Well, not the sideline, obviously that's more important. But yeah, it has, as I say, it has been tough because I'm used to going out to work in an office environment. And I'm having to suddenly juggle that at home and motherhood. But do you know what? I'm so resilient. I love a challenge. And, you know, as I say, I get to do what I love. So it's just win all round, really.
And you're great, and you love people.
I love people. I love meeting people. I've hated lockdown. I've absolutely hated it because I'm a people person. And Zoom and Teams and everything is great. Don't get me wrong. The technology, that we have is amazing to be able to see. But it's not the same.
No.
It's just not the same. Like seeing you here today in the flesh, it's just not the same as seeing you on Zoom.
Yeah.
So for me...
I haven't got my filter for a start.
You don't need it. You do not need it. You're gorgeous.
Saying all the right things, she can come back. But it's true, it is very different. And actually, sort of for the 6 of you that I coached, it was strange because I'd never met any. Well, no, there was a couple that I'd met because I knew previously, but actually a few of you I'd never met, and to sort of meet you again. But you still get that feeling, but it's not the same as seeing someone in person.
Well, you can just sense their personality more, I think, in person. And you can sense the warmness of them. You can sense that, you're really going to get on with that person and like that person. And for me, it is more personable.
Yeah.
There is no better feeling than meeting someone new for the first time in the flesh rather than over Zoom or Teams.
But that being said, VPA, which is virtual PA, which means that you don't have to be in person.
I guess one thing that does stand me apart, though, from other VAs is that I am willing to travel to people's offices, and I am willing to go to meetings and go to events. And because, as I say, I'm a people person. I love doing that. I love getting out, meeting new people, being in different environments, doing different things. So I guess that's one slight thing that sets me apart from others, is that I am prepared to actually venture out the house and do things like this. So
amazing. So what industries have you predominantly worked in throughout your career?
Oh, okay. So insurance is a big one. Insurance is probably the biggest one. So I spent 6 or 7 years with a company called Towergate. And then my most recent role that I got made redundant from was my custody insurance. I was there just under 5 years. So predominantly insurance, but I've also worked for house builders. I've worked for an osteopath school. The list just goes on and on and on, really, because I think when you're a personal assistant, and if you do it well, like I think I do, you're adaptable. You can kind of turn your hand to any kind of company or industry, and you can also then adapt your working style to suit different bosses, because that's one thing I have had to learn. You have to be a chameleon in this game, because everybody has different personalities, they have different ways of working, they like things done a certain way, and I have to go in and very quickly learn that and just adapt and fit in with them, because I'm here for them at the end of the day.
And that you must have some stories you could tell.
Lots.
We'll save that for another
time, maybe off air.
After hours.
Yeah.
But like you say, being a chameleon and having to be sort of really adaptable.
Yes.
That is a big deal, actually, isn't it? Because actually you are going to have so many people. Some people have got thousands. You mentioned about some emails. Some people have, if you saw my inbox, it might give you slight sort of anxiety because there's a lot in there. But then some people might be really, really rigid and go through that. Yeah. But all kinds. So how do you get quickly to, have you got any sort of secrets on how you quickly figure out, or is that just an instinctual thing that you get very quickly?
It's something that I've just learned over the years, and I've learned that you have to very, very quickly in some instances, because some of the people I've worked for have been very challenging, shall we say.
Yeah.
And you have to learn just to go in, suss out how they are, what they like, what they don't like, more importantly, their communication. Do they like you to email them? Do they like you to go in their office in person? Do they like you to call? There's so many different factors, but I've just learned, as I say, over the years, working for the high level people I have done, is that you just tailor your approach. So very quickly, within sort of 2 or 3 weeks, I'd say, I suss out that person and I know what they like and what they don't like. And also it's about asking questions, so don't be afraid to ask questions. If you're really not sure, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say, no, don't be silly, I don't like that. Okay, well, I can learn from that and then I can move on. But if you don't ask, I'd rather ask and get it right than not ask and get it wrong. I think that's one thing I
think that's a really good thing to say, actually, because a lot of people don't want to ask because they don't want to seem like, no one knows everything straight away. No. That would just be ridiculous.
And I think
there'd be nothing to learn.
Of course. And where I've worked for, as I say, quite high level people, COOs, MDs, directors of companies, they can seem quite scary, intimidating to some people. But I think the edge of me is that I'm quite confident. I'm not afraid to go in that office and ask that question, because, as I say, I'd rather get it right than get it wrong. Yeah. And even if, they're busy or you think that, you've just got to go in. You've just got to ask the question. So again, that's come over time. Obviously, you don't go into this industry and be super confident. You know, it comes over the years and over time. But yeah, I just love what I do. And as I say, I think it shows in my passion and enthusiasm for the role.
And also you must just get to really sort of, I mean, as we do at Chatty, where we sort of do marketing and PR and we add on to people's businesses, you become an extension of their business and everything that they're doing.
Exactly, yeah.
So you get a real bird's eye view of what those companies are doing and what those people are doing.
Yes.
Which must be really interesting.
Yeah, well, you've hit the nail on the head. You do become an extension of that person. So you are, you know, their right-hand woman, if you like, or, you know, you're the face of them when they're not around. You answer emails on behalf of them. You answer the telephone. You speak to their clients. So you've got to be professional. You've got to be personable. You've got to be engaging. People are going to want to talk to you. Also, an important thing, people need to trust you. They need to trust that you're going to do a good job. They need to trust you as a person. They need to trust your skills. And that, again, is one thing that I've learned. You know, I definitely am a very trustworthy person. I mean, some of the stuff I've had to deal with in my time, people's salaries, bonus information.
Yeah.
You know, you can't get to where I have got without having that trust. And, you know, it just, otherwise I wouldn't have got to where I am today.
And that must be hard. I mean, like, you know, how do you, I mean, I don't know if I remember once, many moons ago, that I actually found out that someone on the same level of me in sales that wasn't doing as well as me in sales, this is way back in the day when I worked in a company, that they were getting more than me. They got a pay rise, significantly more than me.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I mean, I realise now that they made more noise than me because I tend to like people to reward me without having to ask.
Yes.
But I remember at the time, I mean, I kicked off. I wasn't very happy about that.
Was he male, just out of interest?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't. But it was an interesting one. It was an interesting one. But so I don't know how good I get a bit emotional.
Yes.
You know, I'll be honest about it. I might take that a bit personally. So I don't know if I'll be able to handle seeing all these other things. I'd almost, you know, ignorance is bliss for me sometimes. That's a super skill, I'd say, that you have to have as a PA, isn't it? Because
you have to be resilient.
Yeah.
You have to be resilient. And as I say, I've worked for some really difficult people where they're just not my type of person. You know, I'm very warm, friendly, personable. Some of these directors, they don't have maybe the time to be like that. So it's very, you know, they're very abrupt, they're very direct to the point. And I've learned, again, very quickly that it's not personal.
No.
They just want you to do a job, you know, do a really good job and go home.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have the time to really get to know you personally or get to know your family or what you do at the weekends. And I've learned that's fine. As long as I'm doing a good job for them, I can deal with that. As I say, it's different personalities. You've just got to fit in around them.
And you know, ultimately, when you're being a VPA as well, like when you're doing that job, you might be working with lots of different people. So you can't necessarily get. It's not like if you were working 5 days a week for one specific person and you were embedded in. It would be nice to think that they'd ask how your family are,
of course,
or that they might say, "Would you like to go out for lunch one day or something?" Yeah. But I guess if you've got lots of different clients. Then you're not going to, that level of warmth, it becomes...
Yes.
But you're still very personal, aren't you?
Do you know what? I'm never going to change. Like, some people say, oh, you know, do you feel like your personality is a bit too much when you're on networking? Do you feel like you're too enthusiastic?
Who says that?
Well, some people have, because, you know, certain... times, you know, you need to be very professional and but I just think, you know, I'm too old now. I am who I am. I'm not going to change. So certain people will suit working with me more than others, and that's absolutely fine. I think that's why there's maybe been kind of an influx, if you like, of VAs at the moment. I think a lot of people have been made redundant. Admin staff are always the first to go, unfortunately. And as I say, there has been an influx of VAs, but all of us are different. We all offer different skills. We all offer different services. We all have different personalities. We all work for different kinds of sectors, industries, people. So I'd like to think that there's enough to kind of go around and be shared out. And also I think doing what I do, I get to pick who I work with, which is the brilliant thing. So if I have a one-to-one with someone and I think, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to help you, or I think you're too stuck in your ways, or you're not going to learn to trust me and let go, or our personalities just... I have the beauty to say, look, thank you very much, but actually this one's not for me.
And that's very, very good sense to do that.
Yeah.
I think, you know, in business, when you start to actually say no to things that Because there's nothing wrong with that. We're all different.
Yeah.
We all have different approaches and we all have different responses.
And I mean, how many times have people gone for a job? The interview's gone great. You get the job. You're super excited and amazing. You get in there and that person is so not what you expected.
Yeah.
And you think, what the hell have I done?
Yeah.
What have I done? I've committed myself to this, full-time permanent role. And I'm already thinking on day one or week one, this just isn't going to work. And it's happened to employers as well. They interview people, you're on your best behaviour, and vice versa. They get in the role and they're no good. At least the beauty of what I do is that you can have that kind of initial one-to-one and have a chat with them and have a look at them on LinkedIn, have a look at their business, suss them out a little bit.
Try before you buy.
100%. Yeah.
Because I have actually said those words to someone before. I've said, you're either going to be really good at selling yourself in the interview or you're going to be really good at selling yourself like in the job. It's not both, because sometimes it is. And we don't often know, do we, until we actually get there, what the environment's like. So that's really lovely with what you do.
Yeah.
And it works well around your family.
Yes, it does.
And how have you found the last year? So you mentioned that you found it quite tough with not having, you're very close to your family, aren't you? Your mum is
close.
Stunning.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I managed to see her in the back of Zoom one day and was like, that's not your mum.
She is a yummy mummy.
She is a yummy mummy.
MILF? She's a MILF?
I mean, listen, but it's your mum, but I mean, I would say she's definitely a yummy mummy. She's yummy mummy. She's beautiful, as are you. But you've got really good, close family that support you, haven't you?
Last March, my son was only 5.5 months old when we went into lockdown. And it was such a massive shock for me not being able to see my family because, as you say, I'm so family orientated. I'm so lucky that we get on so well. We have a good laugh. We love one another genuinely, although we do aggravate one another from time to time. But yeah, not being able to physically see, I think I can't remember how many weeks now, it was just soul destroying for me. And we used to cry on the phone, and she was missing my son Max growing up. And I remember when we first got to see one another again out of the lockdown, my son didn't really remember his nanny, which was so sad because they quickly forget. And she was sad about that, but obviously incredibly happy that we could see one another again. But I did find it tough because, as I say, I am a people person. I like getting out and about. I like seeing my family, my friends, and I struggled at the beginning. But then I guess as the year went on, I just thought to myself, do you know what? There's so many people worse off. There's people losing houses, people losing, just lots of things, family, loved ones who are obviously dying from the most awful disease that we've all been going through. So, I'm quite fortunate. Luckily no one close to me has passed away from this. My family's all still here. I'm still in my home. My son is healthy. I'm doing a job that I love. So I just kind of learned that, stop kind of being down on yourself. I'm not, as you know, I'm quite an upbeat, positive person, but I had to kind of slap myself out of it a couple of times because I found it tough, and I'm not that type of person. So for me to find it tough, other people just, I
think everyone's found it tough in different ways, haven't they? And I think that's the thing. And I think also, and we've talked about that a lot when we've been with guests, where just because you're someone that's really upbeat and positive and sees the best in things doesn't mean that you don't have the same emotions as everyone else. Yeah. And that if you find things hard, we still have a heart.
Of course.
We still have feelings. We might show them in different ways, but it doesn't mean that it's not there.
Yeah.
And I think for you as well, you like you say, because you've always been very positive and upbeat, that's possibly been quite hard just to sort of manage that.
Yes.
But you've started a business.
I've come out the other side.
You've come out the other side.
Still smiling, still happy.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly for employees like me who now coming out of lockdown, and I mean, I tend to have a big team that work. A lot of them are freelance, and we've always worked that way at Chatty. I've always wanted to have that flexibility in my company for me and for the guys that work for me and have done regularly for years and years and years. I think more and more people are going to work like that now than they did before, because people do have different jobs. People that work for me have different jobs, and we all have different projects that we're getting on with. Yes. And I think there is, now that there's home, people are going to be at home more, there is going to be even more of that flexibility, making there a bigger need. I love that word. Yeah, exactly.
That is what I'm about. I mean, you have literally hit the nail on the head again. Why hire a full-time person when you don't really need a full-time person? You've got all the extra benefits that come with it, the holiday, the sick pay, the pension, the NI, whereas somebody like me, you literally pay for the hours you use. So actually, I read a really interesting fact that it's up to 3 times cheaper to hire somebody like me than it is a full-time or part-time member of staff. I mean, that surely just speaks volumes to business owners, especially at the moment, because their businesses have been hit. They've probably lost income. They're maybe a bit scared of taking on staff at the moment in case we suddenly go into another lockdown and their business suffers again. So yeah, having that flexibility is a major selling point for somebody like me offering it to business owners.
Well, totally. And I mean, I've run a business for the last 8 years on that being a flexible marketing PR house that literally adds on. And it's been that. I was always like, go in and say to people, you don't want to spend this much money on a marketing manager. No. Well, you can have me and my team for a fraction of the cost, and we can work flexibly alongside you. And that's what we've done. And that's what we've done. You know, there's a whole other side of Chatty that does that still very well for people. And I think it's great that these opportunities are opening out for lots of other people too. Yes. I know I might be using your services at some point in the future. How about how about the coaching we did? What did you learn about yourself? We don't have to go into too much detail about that, but I know you enjoyed it. We don't want you to cry. Only happy tears.
Happy tears here today.
You had happy tears.
I did have happy tears. I think what I learned was that there were a few wounds, shall we say, from past experiences that hadn't maybe been healed enough. And I think when you actually really open up and talk to somebody like yourself who's an expert in it, and you drag those feelings, it actually makes you kind of get over that hurt a little bit more. Whereas I'm the type of person where I just bury it deep down, and then all of a sudden it will come to the surface and boil over the top, and I'll have a massive kind of cry or mini meltdown about it. And actually, through your coaching sessions, it's learnt me actually that by talking about things more, you can actually feel a lot happier in yourself in the long run and actually deal with them rather than, as I say, just bury them.
There's no shame in having sort of experienced things that other people... And actually, I think when you talk to other people, then they're kind of like, they can relate to you more. Yes. Because they're like, well... because the things that we talked about were really quite easy to work through once we knew what they were. Yes. But when you push them down, it does, like you say, it's like a volcano, isn't it, waiting to explode, because there's just the enormity of it. But actually, when you work through things, you're like, oh, actually, okay, that wasn't great, but I'm like that because of that, and I don't really want to be like that again, so I won't do that. So you've actually learned a lot more about how you can be going forwards in business as well, I would say. Yeah,
I would say so. So I would say, you know, if a difficult situation came up, I could just deal with it straight away. Yeah. Don't kind of put it off. Don't eat
your frog.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that saying.
I've never heard that.
There's a whole book somewhere, but eat your frog. Yeah, it's like doing the worst job first.
Yeah. Because the thing is, nobody likes confrontation, nobody likes conflict, nobody likes dealing, you know, with certain situations. We kind of tend to push it away. Whereas actually, if you just deal with it head on straight away, you can still be professional, you can still be nice, but you then don't get all that worry and that build up because it's done. It's, you know, it's dusted. You can move on and focus on the next thing.
And I think uncertainty as well, isn't it? It's that we all build up in our minds sort of what things, the outcome's going to be, how it's going to turn out. Yes. And that uncertainty and that not knowing and that pressure, actually when you do something half the time, it's not half as bad.
No. And why have loads of sleepless nights, as you say, worry? Because I'm one of those, if something's on my mind, I wake up in the middle of the night and I think about it and it goes all around my head, then I can't get back to sleep. And actually, if you just deal with it straight away and head on, it's so much better for you mentally. I mean, obviously at the minute, the mindset is such a big thing for people. We've just had Mental Health Week. Yeah. A lot of people have struggled during this last year. And, you know, as I say, I'm quite fortunate that I'm very much a cup kind of, you know, half full rather than half empty type of girl. Yeah. So I am very positive and upbeat. But yeah, I've had times where I've struggled. But yeah, the coaching definitely has helped.
And the running machine.
Running.
You got yourself a running machine, didn't you?
Yeah. I'm running 3 times a week now.
That's amazing.
I'm up to 3.5k without stopping, which is amazing. I know people will watch this and think, oh, well, I can do 10k. Well, that's great for you. But, you know, I've had a child. The gyms have been shut. I did try a bit of road running, but I put my hip out, so that wasn't good.
Don't do that.
No. So I thought, you know what? With things being so uncertain, I'm just going to get a running machine. Because, again, it fits in with my lifestyle. Yep. When my son's having a nap, I can do a run. If maybe I'm not quite busy at one day, I can do a run. I don't have to travel to a gym. I don't have to worry about the old bodybuilders in the mirrors, you know, looking at themselves, kissing their pecs. I can just, you know, be myself at home, no makeup, hair up, do a run. Perfect.
Yeah. And that's so important as well, isn't it? Exercise as well. Because
Again, healthy body, healthy mind. So, don't get me wrong. I call it the double C. The COVID chub has creeped on over the last year, like so many people. So I'm back to Slim and Well, trying to address that, get healthier again, trying to be better with my eating. Yeah, because as you say, it just all helps.
You look glorious, my love. You look
you.
glorious. You've got nothing to worry. This CC thing.
The double C. COVID chub. It's
I
just
say to everyone that I haven't seen for a long time, I'm more Marilyn Monroe than Kate Moss these days,
Oh, no.
I showed my film crew a picture of me earlier from a few years ago. He didn't even recognise me. I was like, that's what I used to look like when I was a yoga teacher. But, the thing is, it's what's important is how we feel.
Exactly.
And actually how we think is largely deals with how we feel, but also what we put in our body, because we know if we eat junk, we just don't feel as good.
No.
So it's just like anything, isn't it?
You feel
It's
good
the
at
fuel
the
you
time.
put in.
Don't get me
you
wrong.
You feel good at the time, but
then
very
afterwards
quickly.
you feel like, why did I eat that? I stuffed why did I have that extra chocolate bar or that extra bit of Chinese,
Yeah.
So you do just end up feeling worse. So actually, healthier eating, better habits. Yes, you can have treats. I'm not going to be on a diet 24/7. Who can? I love chocolate. Like, seriously, I have a Freddo a day. At least one a day.
Freddo.
A Freddo a
They're
day.
like that big.
They are.
You're right.
It just helps take the edge off. It takes the edge off. But the running has helped, and now I'm starting to eat a bit healthy. Again, it just all helps. It just helps you focus on what's important. It helps you feel better. Some of my skinny jeans were getting tight, and I thought, I don't want to go up that extra size. You know what us women are like, I'm not going up that extra size. And now the shops are open. I've got a wedding to go to in the summer.
How exciting.
Yeah, which is, I love a good wedding. Because I'm at an age where I can't go clubbing anymore. It's just embarrassing that, I'm like double the age of some of the people going clubbing. So a good wedding, I can have a good old dance and a drink, but be home by midnight. I mean, it's like Cinderella. It's the perfect way to enjoy yourself.
And are you looking forward to some other things this year? What about festivals and things like that? Do you like festivals? What?
I love music, but I hate festivals. And I tell you why, because I'm OCD and I can't stand the mud, the mess, the dirt, the grime.
Even with your lovely pair of hunters and your floral dress and your hunters, you can't.
I could stay at a luxury hotel and then just go for the day and or a nice B&B. But yeah, for me, glamping or camping, no. Not for me.
I'm kind of with you on that one, Liz. But I do. I mean, I'm looking forward to outdoor experiences again.
Yeah.
I think as we all are, because I
Yes.
think, unfortunately we're not going to be able to do our event this year, but there's a lot that's happening. And actually, because we're not doing our event, I'm going to be able to go to a lot.
Yeah.
We're going to take the big chat to a few. So it's going to be really good fun. So what are the sort of industries you'd like to get into? What are the sort of places you'd like to get into?
I knew you were going to ask this. These people, what industry? The thing is that I don't like to limit
Is that a
myself.
cliche question I just asked you?
Well, no, it's not a cliche question, but in the VA world, they always harp on about, you've got to work for specific sectors, you've got to, and actually I disagree. And the reason I disagree is because you don't want to limit yourself. As I say, I've learned over the years, I've worked for many different industries, many different types of bosses. I've learned to be adaptable. I've learned to be that chameleon. So if someone came to me and said, I work, I've had a call, funnily enough, before I came here with a guy who runs his own IT business. So, we're potentially going to be working together. I have worked kind of for IT, but with insurance before, so never standalone IT. But yeah, I just think as long as you can help the person, if you get an idea from them of what they're looking for, what they need, how many hours they want, the type of tasks they want you to do, as long as it's within your remit, why not do it?
Yeah.
I'm always very honest though. So like, for instance, I don't do social media. I don't do websites. They're not the areas that I'm comfortable in. And there's other VAs out there that absolutely love doing that. And that's what, they make their business from. So I'd much rather recommend a VA that I know that does that than kind of struggle and offer a very mediocre
and you're
kind of
great.
product.
I love that about you, because you always are. You always want to collaborate. You always want to help people. You're very happy to recommend people.
Yes.
You're very open like that, which I think you'll do really, really well. And you do a bit of networking, don't you? You like doing a bit of networking. And that's been online. So is that going to go? Is that going to be more like face to face? Do you think over the coming
funny
weeks?
enough, I had my first face to face networking event last week.
Yeah.
which is really good actually, because again, it's just so nice to see people in the
Yeah.
flesh. And I think as more and more as lockdown kind of eases and we get to that 21st of June, I think later on in the year, networking will just be in person. I don't think it will be over Zoom, or maybe it might be 1 week Zoom, 1 week in person. So there'll be a bit of flexibility there, because people have got used to working at home as well, don't forget.
Yeah.
And they fit it in around their families and children. So, but no, I mean, I'm a part of the BBN network. I'm going to big them up at the minute. It's Brian's Business Network, and I absolutely love it because it's just full of people like me.
Yeah.
Really positive, upbeat. They're happy to support you. They're happy to like your LinkedIn post, your Twitter post, happy to recommend and refer you. So that has been a big one for me, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And then occasionally I will join other events that I see, and, you know, Chamber of Commerce, and just if I get invited to ones, I'm like, I'll do that, because I just like to get myself out there. And you never know who you're going to meet and who's going to see you that maybe hasn't seen you before, because LinkedIn's a massive platform.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many VAs on there at the minute. As I say, there's been a massive influx. So, you know, unless you get yourself out there, you're not going to stand out from the crowd.
No, absolutely.
So-
And you do, I really do love the fact that you do just put yourself out there. You really do. You talk to people. You're always really open to new experiences. And I think you're going to do very, very well.
Oh, thank you.
If people want to find out about you, where are they going to go?
Where are they going to go? Well, I have a website.
Yeah.
So www.yourvpa.co.uk. I'm on LinkedIn, Gemma Oliver.
Yeah.
I'm also on Twitter. And just, you might see me pop up in networking. Because it's very funny. You kind of, networking is kind of... you see the same faces occasionally pop up. And as I say, the chap that I spoke to earlier today, he's seen me on about 3 or 4 networking events. And then he saw me at one last week and he thought, I remember her. She's a VA. She's quite local to me. I'm going to set up a call. So that's how it works. People don't necessarily remember you the first time, but by the second and third time, and you do your 45 or your minute pitch, I think, I'm going to go on a website. I'm going to, connect with her on LinkedIn. I'm going to see what she's about. And then I might, organise a one-to-one.
Yeah. So they can get in touch with you that way.
Yes.
And what would be your advice to anyone out there who may be similar to yourself, who's got a young family, has been through this pandemic, maybe been made redundant, trying to find work, and is thinking about doing it on their own?
Yes.
What would be your words of wisdom?
Okay,
your
so
closing words of wisdom, Gemma.
Closing words
I
of
know
wisdom.
you've got them.
I do. Well, you say that. I'm not an expert at being a VA or PA. I don't pretend to be. I love what I do, and I think that's more important.
Just from your heart.
From
no
my heart.
pressure.
So I would say you've got to be confident. You've got to be outgoing, because you're going to have to put yourself in situations where you're standing up in front of a room of 40, 50 people and selling yourself for a minute. And that isn't an easy thing to do if you're, kind of really shy and quiet. So maybe practice.
Yeah.
Practice makes perfect, doesn't it? So, I wouldn't have, for instance, been able to come here and chat to you back in late of last year or even early this
Really?
year. I don't think I would have done, to be honest, because I think...
That's amazing then. Well done, you.
Yeah, I think it kind of, your confidence grows, and as my business grows, has grown, my confidence has grown.
Good.
And I guess also don't be doing this thinking it's going to be an easy ride. It's hard work. It takes a lot of determination, dedication, grit, resilience, because you're going to get knocked back. There's a lot of competition out there as well at the moment. So I would say don't focus on the competition. Like, I haven't really looked at any other VA's websites. I haven't looked on their LinkedIn, because you want to be unique.
You've got to do what you believe in.
Yeah, 100%. You've got to be your own brand and your own person. If you start looking at what everyone else is doing, it's going to send you crazy, because you're going to think, oh, well, they're better than me. I'm not going to do... You can't think like that. You've got to just go out there and think, right, what are my key selling skills? What are my skills? What am I good at? What do I like doing? Who do I want to work with? How am I going to get there? Have a bit of a plan. Also, I would say spend time on your website, spend time on your brand, really think about, because that's you, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's you as a person.
Yeah.
People are going to go on that website, go on that LinkedIn and read a bit, and they're going to decide in an instant whether they can work with you or not. So if it isn't up to scratch, or it's very half-assed done and you haven't put a lot of effort into it, it's going to show. People aren't going to come to you. So, I spent 3 months last year before I even started networking, doing my website, my branding, everything like that, so that I was ready and raring to go. So if you have that flexibility where you can afford to do that, because not everyone can, but if you can afford to do that, That's my one bit of advice. And yeah, just as I say, it's not going to fall in your lap. Getting clients isn't easy. You know, I've been going since January. I've got one retainer client. I've got a couple that use me ad hoc, and I've got a few more potentially, you know, in the bag, so to speak. But it takes a lot of hard work to get there.
And it does take time. And there's a great guy who I don't know if you follow on LinkedIn at all, Stephen Bartlett.
He's the guy that's just become the Dragon's Den.
He's Dragon's Den. He shared a post yesterday. I think he's amazing. And he shared a post yesterday, and it was a clip of 10 years ago where he put a Twitter post out saying, wouldn't it be amazing if I could get onto Dragon's Den? And then next to it was 10 years later, he's one of the Dragon's Den.
Yeah.
It literally, that's it. It's but that's 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the thing. Go for your dream.
Yes.
Dream big. But don't beat yourself up if it doesn't happen instantaneously.
It's never going to.
We've only been doing these chats for 6 months. That's it. And you just, I think, you know, like you say, get all your ducks in line.
Yes.
Do it properly. Present yourself the way you want people to see you and the way you want to be seen.
Yeah.
And then just go for it.
Then go for it.
So,
I mean, what's the worst going to happen? I mean, yes, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Yes, you know, it would be easier. You know, people have said to me, wouldn't it be easier just to go get an office job? Yeah, of course it would. But the difference is I won't get to see my son grow up. So, you know, I'm going to...
I don't think you'd be glowing quite as much as you're glowing.
I don't think I will be, to be honest.
And
And I can pick and choose who I work with. I can make sure their personalities suit me. I can make sure they're nice, good, honest people that I want to work for. And I can fit it in around my son. So, yes, it's not easy. It is the harder route. But I think long term, ultimately, I am going to be much happier doing this.
You are.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to see you happy.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming on and
for
chatting
having
to
me.
me. Thank you very much. I mean, we are going to chat much more, and it's been great to connect with you in many ways.
Yes.
But thank you for coming on the Big Chat and
thank you for
sharing
having
your
me.
infectious enthusiasm with everybody. And if anyone needs a VA, speak to this woman because she's awesome. So
I'd love to help, so get in touch. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Gemma.
Thank you.
Thank you.